Okay, Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nordina Amira binti Abdullah, matric number 265049. Okay, today our group going to present about the audit of payroll. Okay, I will start off with the introduction, the audit objective of payroll, and also for the conclusion later at the end of this presentation. Okay, so I will start off with the introduction first. Okay. First of all, running payroll accurately is one of the most critical employer responsibility. But sadly, even if you use a reliable payroll processing system, there is always a room for user error. Okay, the employer might input numbers incorrectly, forget to add an employer's pay raise, or fail to remove a terminated employee from the payroll. Okay, so to combat this foundation problem, it is crucial to conduct a payroll audit. So, regularly performing a payroll audit can alert you to any issues early on. So, it is good to learn about the payroll procedure to catch any mistakes and avoid payroll fraud, tax filing corrections, and also disgruntled employees. Okay, so what is payroll audit? Okay, payroll cycle. It is a payroll cycle relates to the acquisition of labor services and payments to the employees. Okay, this topic will shows you how to perform audit payroll and discuss audit classes of payroll and payment transaction and also the balance of accruals related to payroll. Okay, at the end of this topic, we'll specifically discusses further audit procedures performed for payroll as tasks of controls and substantive tasks. Okay, so a payroll audit is an analysis of a company's payroll processes to ensure accuracy. Payroll audits examine things like the business active employees, pay rates, wages, and tax withholdings. At least once per year are needed to conduct a payroll audit to verify the process is timely and legally compliant. Okay, generally, payroll audits are internal. This means like someone in the company who conducts them. Performing internal audits can help you detect error and prevent possible external audits later on. Okay, let's proceed with the audit objective of payroll. Okay, so the overall main objective of audit payroll and personnel cycle is to evaluate whether the account balances affected by the cycle are fairly stated in the accordance with generally accepted accounting principle GAAP. Okay, so conducting a payroll audit regularly can help you to prevent payroll fraud or mismarked time cards, catch manual errors made when entering numbering into a system, and also maybe verify withholding tax accurately. Okay, so other audit objective for payroll concern obtaining sufficient audit evidence for transactions and balances. General audit objective for payroll are presented in the figure 1.1 as shown. Okay, key issues in auditing payroll that payroll expenses and its related deductions are recorded and not understand, and also liabilities results from outstanding payroll recorded. Okay, as you can see from figure 1.1, there's three objective: transaction objective, balance objective, and also presentation and disclosure objective. Okay, the under of this objective, the for transaction objective, there are occurrence, completeness, accuracy, cut off, and for balance objective, there is existence, right and obligation, completeness, and valuation and equation. And for presentation and disclosure objective, there's occurrence, rights and obligations, completeness, classifications and understandability, accuracy, and also valuation. This point is so important for all three objectives. Okay, so to conclude, overall, payroll managers keep track of a lot of numbers going in and going out of an organization. As a good record keeping practice, payroll audit procedures can help to maintain accuracy and compliance, identify any potential issues or problems, and also strengthen the financial controls.
Hi, my name is YCWay, batch number 271419, and I will talking about nature of payroll transaction. Okay, so payroll transactions are consisting of many items such as salaries, wages, bonus, commission, subsidies, and other employee benefits such as sick leave and pay leave. Moreover, statutory deductions or voluntary deductions are needed to record in payroll transaction. So the first one is payroll accounts. Payroll account is a documentation who will be received by employees for the money they earn after working in a company. From the view of employer, and payroll accounts are the separate bank account that is mainly used for payroll purpose. Commonly, employees can view their payroll account to view whether the salary is paid or not. The salary received is the amount after deduction of certain items such as EPF or source code and compensation as regulated in each company's rules and government policies. Okay, the second one is payment account. Payment account is are the bank account they use by employers for daily payment transaction usage. In payroll transaction, the employer will record the wages and payment to employees in payment account. And, and the third one, a creator payroll account. A creator account is all the forms of compensation owed to employers that have not yet been paid to them. It represents a liability for the employer. The accredited payroll concept is only used under the accrued basis of accounting. It's not used under cash basis of accounting. Okay, the last one, deduction of accounts. Here go two examples of deduction account. The first one I will talk about EPF. EPF, Employer Provident Funds is a body that established following by the statute of federal law manage the compulsory saving plan and retirement plan under the control of Ministry of Finance. Under this policy, employers are required to open a saving account for every Malaysian citizen employed in EPF. Employers are obligated to contribute at least 12% of employees' monthly salary to the savings, whereas employers are required to contribute at least 11% of their salary. Due to unforeseen situations that cause the worldwide economy become bad, employees' contribution is dropped from 11% of salary to 7%, but employees' contribution is remain the same. Okay, the second one is SOSCO. SOSCO in the full name is Social Security Organization. It is an organization founded to manage, execute, and enforce the Employees Social Security Act 1969 and the Employees Social Security Regulation 1971. The organization offers social security protection through social insurance, especially medical and monetary compensation, artificial age provision, and rehabilitation to employees to decrease the suffering. It also provides financial assurance to protect the family from being in financial problem when something bad happens to the employees. Employers need to register and contribute social fee for the workers every month, as this is regulated under Employee Social Security Act 1969. Next one, in the responsibility is in responsibility, Human Resource Department will make record on employee information and performance, whereas Payroll Department will analyze, calculating, and paying salary or wages to employees. The separation of the function is aimed to prevent further payments so that no payments are made to fictitious employees. While analyze how much an employee should receive for his or her salary or wages, there are few ways to determine the amount of salary or wages, such as setting the payment rate based on hours, days, months, or based on the progress of the job. This internal control should be carried out to ensure salaries and wages are calculated accurately before payments are made. Next, here are the difference between wages and salary. Wages are paid in cash in weekly basis and is suitable for temporary employees such as in production unit workers. However, such salary is paid through electronic bank transfer and is based on monthly basis. This salary is suitable for permanent employees such as administration workers. So I will pass the presentation to my partner. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Oluwatoyin, matrix number 269663. Today, I would like to talk about the audit of payroll, and the subtopic that I will be presenting is accounting system and control activities. So, implementing adequate control activities are crucial and important for payroll accounts because payroll is a significant expense to an entity. There are 6 payroll transactions, and the first one will be hiring employees. Second is authorizing payroll changes. Third is preparing attendance and timekeeping data. The fourth one is preparing the payroll, and the fifth one is recording payroll, and the last will be payout, or also known as payment transaction. So we move to the first part, which is hiring employees. In hiring employees, human resource will manage the salary skill of the employee, job description of the employee, and the employment contract as well. So in hiring employees, human resource will need to document employee details in personnel authorization form. After that, they need to keep the data in a personnel master file, and it can only be accessed or updated by authorized personnel in human resource to ensure the security of the data. After that, a copy of the personnel authorization form will be forwarded to the payroll department, and the payroll department will process payments to employees. Next, we move to authorizing payroll changes. Any changes on job description and salary scale for an employee can only be made by an authorized personnel in human resource. The process should be the same as updating data for hiring and dismissing a personnel. The control over changes in employee data is in place to ensure accuracy of the payroll. In the case of revision, a revised personnel authorization form will be sent to the payroll department by the HR. In the case of termination, the HR will need to send the termination notice to the payroll department for further process. So next, we move to preparing attendance and timekeeping data. So usually, company will use electronic or computerized system to prepare attendance and to keep track the timekeeping data. The security identification will be used for each and every employee for the entries into the office. After that, attendance and total hours will be kept and recorded. The fourth is preparing payroll. So payroll system will be used for an entity to calculate the payroll. So we will use the payroll system to calculate the payroll of an entity. We will either manually or automatically update the salary skills in the payroll system. After that, the payroll department will prepare a payroll register, and they need to implement an independent check to ensure the reasonableness of the amounts related to the working hours. And the fifth one will be the recording the payroll. First, we need to enter the amounts calculated by the payroll system in the payroll journal. After that, payroll register will be the supporting documents for payroll journals. Then the payroll department will need to journalize the related deductions in the accounts based on the payroll register. So payslip is very important and will be used as a net salary reference so that the employee can refer to the deductions to know about the details of their net salary. Also, payslip is very important for the reconciliation purpose with the Human Resource Department and Payroll Department. In recording the payroll, an independent check by the appropriate personnel is also very important to prevent any misstatement. Also, the appropriate personnel will need to check the payroll data periodically to fulfill the audit objective of completeness and accuracy. Lastly, we will talk about the payment transaction. So, there are 5 important things to be considered in payment transaction. The first one will be the segregation of duties between who has the authority to sign the checks and the personnel who initiates or processes payroll transactions. Because if the person who signed the checks and the person who initiates the payroll transaction are the same person, then it will has a high risk of fraud or any conflict of interest. Secondly, the check signer should ensure the payroll amount is correctly stated and details of the employees are matched with the payroll register. For example, the name and the addresses of the employee and also the agreement from the employee as well. Thirdly, the indication of payments should be made to the payroll list once the payment is made to avoid resubmission of duplicate payments. Also, the custody and mailing of checks should be the responsibilities of the check signers to prevent any theft or alterations. Lastly, the appropriate personnel should put an impressed bank account that is specific for payroll to ensure only the amount to be paid for the month is available in the account to prevent overpayments or employees. Because if the amount available is more than that, then it will likely increase the chance of overpayments to the employees. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Heming Lee, matrix number 271090. Now I will present developing the audit plan. First, we look at the risk assessment procedure. There are 4 steps in this procedure. The first step is understanding the entity to identify inherent risk. The second step is obtaining an understanding of internal control over payroll transaction. The third step is assessing risk of material misstatements. The last step is designing further audit procedure. Now we discuss about obtaining an understanding of internal control over payroll transaction. To better understanding the control over payroll, the auditor can prepare a written description or flowchart or computing an internal control questionnaire on payroll transaction. The auditor should determine if the internal controls over payroll are implemented appropriately and effectively. For example, the segregation of functions between HR and payroll disbursement can be observed by auditor. The auditor may also inquire and inspect documents such as payroll register to determine whether the payroll and authorized deductions are appropriately recorded. Now we move to assessing risk of material misstatement. The auditor assesses risk of material misstatement which subdivided to inherent risk and control risk based on the understanding obtained of the entity. The auditor may determine whether the payroll is susceptible to risk of misstatement due to the complexity of payroll calculation. The auditors are more concerned with overstatement of payroll payments because this affects the welfare of employees. Now we discuss designing further audit procedure. Further audit procedure comprise test of control and substantive procedures. Auditors are responsible for designing further test procedures that should be performed based on the assessed risk level. Auditors should address significant risk of misstatement by evaluating the design of control and determine whether the controls are implemented effectively. Auditors need not rely on evidence obtained from prior periods or analytical procedure to address risk of misstatement in payroll record.
Hello doctor, I am Yogeshwaran, metric number 273816. Today I would like to present about further audit procedures in audit payroll. First and foremost, tests of control should be performed prior substantive tests. Certain tests of control procedures are during an understanding of internal controls. For your information, tests of control are designed to obtain sufficient evidence to determine whether controls over payroll are functioning effectively. The assessment of test of control involves A. Test of design effectiveness and B. Test of operating effectiveness. For test of design effectiveness, auditor use understanding of the information systems and internal control specific to the client to determine the effectiveness of controls over payroll. However, for the test of operating effectiveness, the payroll is prone to overstatements in payments to fictitious employees. Next, payment for overstated hours and payments for overstated days. Okay, next part is about control risk assessments. There are 6 functions in the section following potential misstatement and control procedure. First function is hiring and dismissing employee. The potential misstatements are the payroll may include fictitious employees. The control procedures of this function are hiring new employee and firing an employee must be authorized by appropriate personnel in the human resource department. Second is authorizing payroll changes. Potential misstatements are unauthorized change in salary rate may occur and terminated employee may remain in the payroll register while the control procedures are only authorized personnel can change the data in payroll system and the human resource department should notify the payroll department of all terminations immediately. Then preparing attendance and typekeeping data and it have potential misstatements. Payroll overpay for hours and control procedure use proper electronic system to capture hours worked and approved by authorized personnel. Fourth function, preparing the payroll. The potential misstatements are loss of data during submission to payroll department and invalid data may be included in the payroll data. The control procedures are use of computerized payroll system with appropriate application controls and independent check on the payroll data and only authorized personnel can change the data. Moreover, recording the payroll have potential misstatements such as errors occur in processing and recording the payroll and unauthorized changes were made to the payroll data. These functions control procedures are exception and control report to be investigated by authorized personnel and control total for payroll register are checked against total amount of payroll journals. Final function is payouts and its potential misstatement is checks issued for unauthorized employees and F control procedure. Identification of employees on distribution checks. So, in short, the test of control is performed on control specifically to prevent or detect overstatements in situations such as termination of employees and distribution of payrolls. This slide shows about substantive procedures which is also part of performing further audit procedures. While payroll is subjected to high levels of inherent risks associated to completeness and accuracy essentials, most entities have a proper control system over payroll in place. The control is usually effective and the control risk is low. Thus, for substantive procedures, auditors focus on the application of analytical procedures to payroll, expense accounts, and test of details. Next, this section discusses designing of substantive procedures for payroll transaction. The types of substantive procedures are analytical procedures, test of details transaction, and test of details of balance. Analytical procedures are planned to confirm expectations and are performed in 3 stages. First, to review the understanding of the entity and likelihood of changes to payroll amounts. Second, to determine any fluctuations in payroll amounts. Third is determine the ratio for average wages per employee. Test of details or transaction is about. Tests of transaction are used to corroborate tests of balances. Test of transaction is normally performed in the audit interim and in the form of dual purposes tests. Then the test of details of balances involve obtaining evidence about accrued payrolls balances. It includes the following two tests, which are recalculating payroll liabilities and verifying directors and executive officers remuneration. Recalculating payroll liabilities about auditors must recalculate the accrued payroll and check all authorized deduction. Then, verifying directors and executive officers remuneration is about auditors should also inspect documents such as minutes to approve the remuneration for directors and executives. Thank you.
Okay, so we come to the last slide of this presentation. For the conclusion, payroll is considerable expense for most entities. Auditors should master the business functions related to payroll transaction, as it will benefit auditors to regulate the required internal controls over payrolls. Hence, auditors should determine the exemptions for payroll transaction and their related audit objective. Okay, so occurrence, completeness, accuracy, cut-off, rights and obligations, and classifications are the audit objective for payroll transactions. Okay, in order to reach the objectives, auditors will perform tests of controls to reduce control risks and the amount of substantive tests to be performed. Broadly, substantive tests concern the balance of payroll accruals. Analytical procedures and limited test balance are performed in stages to achieve sufficient audit evidence that the payroll and its accruals are fairly stated. The primary concern for audit of payroll is overpayment. Thus, the auditor's focus is on tests of controls over accuracy of payroll calculations and payments. Okay, I think that is all for our presentation. Thank you.